In this video, we're going to be looking at the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit as well as the Halosar Trap. Now, these two very deadly traps come from d4, d5, and e4, which might look like a very strange move at first. It simply just gives away the pawn on move 2. However, the idea is if black were to take, well, there's knight to c3, and now white is threatening to take back this pawn and have a lead in development. So of course, black guards the pawn with knight f6, and now white plays f3, officially giving up the pawn in a very common gambit. Now, gambits like these rely on the fact that while white is down a pawn, and some gambits, white will even gambit like up to a piece, after takes, there's queen takes, and now the queen is active, and there could be some very dangerous threats, things like bishop to b5. The pressure here along this long diagonal, the knight can come in, the bishop can come in, and we'll see all of this later. And if black takes the pawn on d4, which is now hanging, white plays bishop to e3, and now the queen is hit, and white is also developing yet another piece. Now, in the line we're going to be looking at, black plays queen to b4. Now, it might be strange. You might be wondering, like, in this position, why doesn't black just go back to, like, d7 or d8, or maybe centralize with queen e5? The idea behind queen to b4 is that now there's pressure on b2. And, for example, if white were just to play something like h3, I don't know, well, queen takes b2 is very dangerous, and now both of these pieces cannot be guarded, and white is just lost here. So, what does white do in this position? White castles, specifically castling queenside, and this solves all the white's problems, because now king is guarding the b2 pawn, the knight is guarded, and now this rook is so active, and there are so many threats like bishop to b5, and then maybe even this bishop will come alive. It is very dangerous. And while black is up two entire pawns, we can see that white is just so far ahead in development that black has to play extremely accurately. However, this does allow the move bishop to g4, which looks like a very good move at first, right? I mean, you're skewering white, the queen and the rook. If this queen were to move like queen to g3, black will take the rook. However, white plays a very beautiful move here. Knight to b5. And at first, this looks like, you're like, what? It's just giving up the queen on f3. Well, if bishop takes f3, knight c7 is checkmate. And I mentioned this rook here, it cuts off the king's escape square. And now the knight can jump in. And it's checkmate. Just two pieces, and the game is over in just 9 moves. So rather than doing that, after knight b5, black plays knight to a6. This guards the key's c4 pawn, and black is essentially saying, I'm stopping mate, and the skewer here is still alive. However, the one thing is that now queen takes b7, and you can't take the rook because of queen takes a8, followed by checkmates very soon, and it'll be an extremely dangerous position. So what does black do? Black plays rook to c8, which looks like it's giving up a rook at first. You can actually take that rook because the bishop is covering, obviously. However, this means that black cannot take this rook because now this rook will be hanging. So it's a very messy position. And of course, white is simply up a piece after queen takes a6. However, however, black still has this pressure here. And again, black cannot take because of queen takes c8 mate. However, if the rook slides over, something like e6 or e5 to allow the king some breathing room, followed by developing the bishop, this king is very exposed. It could be a dangerous position. Even though white is up an entire piece, remember, white is also gambited 2 pawns so far. And black is threatening the rook. Black can play c6. Black can slide this rook over, and then bring this knight in with something like knight e4. It's not that clear on who's going to win the game yet. However, the final trap I'd like to show you guys is if black were to play something like, I don't know, c6, for example. Now, this looks a little bit odd. However, it's quite logical if you think about it, because in this position, this knight is really, really annoying, right? If you are playing as black, you want to get rid of this knight. I mean, it's pressuring c7. In some cases, it can be pressuring d6. Of course, you can always take here and then attack the rook. It's very, very annoying. So c6 is logical. However, this allows forced checkmate in two moves, and that is queen takes c8, another queen sacrifice, and after bishop takes, knight c7. And now, again, just like last time, the rook and the knight cut off the king's escape. Now, what is this known as? Well, in this position, this is sort of a deflection, and a deflection in chess is usually when you take something away, but more specifically, it is removing the guard. And I mentioned that a deflection is taking something away. Removing the guard is just as it says, you are removing the guard of something extremely important. Knight c7 would be checkmate if not for this annoying rook. So what do? You get rid of the rook with check, and after the only move, now you can play the checkmate. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, highlighting the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit as well as the Halosar Trap. Thanks for watching.